Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Welcome to Wager Talk Today. He's Teddy Covers. I'm Lawrence Prezman. Great show. Nick Borrman up first. We're going to talk Golf Masters, both who's going to win and the matchups. And, of course, Dave Sharapan, like every Tuesday, will take a look at all the bets made in the past week and some stuff in the upcoming week. And, Teddy, no big game breakdown today. No bad beat today. I love when you nod your head, Teddy. It's the greatest. Let's get into the lead story. 2, Monday Night Football and Big Ben gets COVID. Let's start with that. I haven't looked. I'm sure it's been taken off the board, but that's a major industry. Oh my God. Injury. Mason Rudolph is, well, we saw last year. That's a whole different team without Big Ben.
Well, it's interesting to talk about. And right now, all we know is that Roethlisberger's been put on the COVID reserve list because he has been around someone that has COVID, not that he has tested positive. All that said, Big Ben's not practicing right now. Big Ben's not going to practice all week. And we saw like Matthew Stafford in a similar spot last week. And the Lions offense certainly was not in sync in that ballgame. But You talk about the drop-off from Roethlisberger to Mason Rudolph. And everybody that I've heard talk about is saying the exact same thing. Mason Rudolph last year stunk. Mason Rudolph last year stunk. He did. He was also a rookie playing behind a dismal offensive line with limited skill position talent around him. When you look at Pittsburgh's offense this year compared to last year, night and day. And that has nothing to do with the quarterback position. The offensive line is healthy this year. The skill position talent is there this year. It's a whole different story for Pittsburgh. And Rudolph, of course, last year was a rookie. Now he's got a season under his belt. He's got starts under his belt. If we're talking about one game, I'd make the drop-off minimal for Pittsburgh. I think they will step up with Mason Rudolph at QB for 1 week if it happens. Of course, there's a chance Big Ben will go on Sunday. Of course, Steelers are last undefeated team. Certainly, they're going to do everything in their power to get him to play. But if he doesn't, don't listen to the mainstream garbage about Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph is capable in a single game for getting the job done for Pittsburgh.
Teddy Covers with us. Teddy, let's talk Monday Night Football. And I want to make an announcement for everybody right now because I care about all the customers and clients at WagerTalk.com. I'm one of the co-founders and part owner. And the most important thing is that we win for our clients. So here is my alert. Joe, we need Prez alert across the screen. Don't buy my NFL for a few weeks, except my 5% plays. My 5% plays are freaking gold. I can barely lose a 5% football play. But, man, I can't get out of my own freaking way with all the other plays. I'm on the under last night. Jets put up the highest point total in history of the Jets this year. Cam Newton. I call unders, it goes over. I call overs, it goes unders. So, guys, Teddy is smoking hot in the NFL on a 6-0 run. Buy his NFL plays for this week and my 5% play. With that said, Teddy, strange set of downs at the end of the game for New England trying to march down the field to kick that field goal. I don't know if you watched it, but it really felt like Bill Belichick said, Cam, you ain't throwing anymore. We are going to run, and if we run out of time, so be it. I've never seen a team do like a 40-second drill, 3 timeouts, running the ball every single play until the very last one. I think Bill has lost a lot of confidence in Cam. I think Cam has lost a lot of confidence in Cam. Just an interesting game all around.
That said, Cam Newton hit the big throw, and the Jets defense gave him the big throw after they'd run the football with the questionable clock management for New England on that last drive. But even before we get to that, the Jets got the ball back with 1:51 left on the clock and all of their timeouts. And without going to overtime and without a turnover, they lost the game in regulation. Okay, so if we're pointing fingers at coaches, it ain't going at New England's coaches. You can't do that. All right, decent teams don't do that. And for the Jets to be 2nd and 2, again, it wasn't like Flacco got sacked in the first play and they were in trouble right from the get-go. They're in 2nd and 2 when Flacco takes that sack. But
yeah.
So, I mean, the fingers are all pointing towards the Jets. It's not about New England. All that said, the Patriots' pass rush was a nightmare last night. There was no pressure at the line of scrimmage. And when Joe Flacco has a clean uniform at the end of the game, the Jets are live to cover. And he hit a bunch of downfield passes because he had a clean uniform at the end of the game. The Patriots' pass rush, non-existent. Again, that's clearly a problem. I mean, New England's a bad team. They're a bottom quartile team, and the markets are just starting to get there.
Teddy, when my dad turned 70, I told him I'd take him to Augusta. He's a huge golfer. So I called them and tried to book. He needed to wait till he was 80. That's how long the bloody wait to play. Yeah, like I called literally 18 months ahead of time, and they were like, sorry, we're booked for the next 12 years. Nick Borrman, welcome to WagerTalk Today. Have you ever had the pleasure of playing Augusta?
I have not had the pleasure of playing it. I have had the pleasure of being on the course as a spectator, but maybe one day.
Teddy, I could not think of anything worse than being a spectator at a golf tournament. Firstly, you're not allowed to talk. Secondly, you stand all day. I mean, thirdly, you can't see anything until they get to the green. You couldn't pay me enough money to waste my time standing at a golf course. Guys, it's $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk and Sports Memo. We got a great promotion for everybody who's a golf fan. Both Andy Lang and Nick Borrman are the $2 Tuesdays. Andy Lang, 61% in head-to-head matchups lifetime at wagertalk.com. And he's on a 14-4 run. And Nick, you're killing it too, man. Over 20% on your bankroll in golf in 2020. Profitable both seasons that you've been releasing plays at WagerTalk. And you've picked 4 outright winners this year alone in PGA. So guys, head over to wagertalk.com, grab both Andy and Nick. $2. That's all. Nick, let's get into it. First question. Who do we bet to win this tournament?
Listen, the Masters is a special place, but tackling the outright market isn't a lot different than any other event. You kind of have to look, when you get into a major, you obviously have the big names, and more than likely the winner of this event is going to come from the top of the odds page as far as the outright goes. So you got to have to look right there and pick a guy. You can't pick several of these guys because if you pick a few of them, your net result's not going to be that great. But you're looking in the list. I mean, you see DeChambeau and Dustin Johnson are the tournament favorites. And then you have Rahm settled in right behind, and Koepka, Justin Thomas round out the group there. But who I'm looking at this week on that list is Rahm. I'm intrigued by DeChambeau from what I'm hearing as far as some of the irons he's been hitting in the greens. He just sounds like he's overpowering the place. But the weather does have me a little concerned this week. Rain, wind. I don't know if I've seen a lot from him over the years, where Rahm I have. But Rahm really he's finished no worse than tied for 23rd in his last 7 starts. He has a win during that run, a tied for second in his last start at the Zozo. Last year, he was phenomenal. I mean, he was almost every category that matters. He was right up there. 4th shots gained off the tee, 22nd putting, 3rd tee to green, number 1 on tour in total shots gained, number 2 in scoring average. It's hard to find a guy better press for that. And really, you can make an argument for most of these guys up here. But for me, I see Rahm as the guy to contend this week and a little bit better on the odds market at 12-1 right now. Again, he's just a guy that plays well on the toughest conditions. And Augusta this week is supposed to be pretty tough because of the conditions, not of the course as much as the weather. The course is always tough, but he's a guy I'm looking at for the outright. The other way to tackle the outright is to find a guy way down the list. You got to go for more of a long shot. And I'm looking at Matthew Fitzpatrick. He's 66-1 right now for the outright win. So he's a great guy to get your money on. You're not putting a big bet on him by any means, but you're going to put a couple bucks on him to win outright. He has, since the Memorial Tournament, his last 10 starts, he does have 3 missed cuts, but he also has 4 top 10s as well. So when he plays well, he's there all the way through. He has the game to contend at Augusta. He was ranked 2nd on tour last year in putting and 16th in total shots gained, along with 23rd in scoring average. So a good option at a very valued long price. And if not, you can look at him as a leaderboard bet, which I'll talk about later on. But he's a good guy for a good price. And if you're looking for those daily fantasy matchup guys out there that are listening, John Rahm, you're going to have to pay for at $10,500, but Fitzpatrick is a steal of a price at $7,600. So check him out if you're in a daily fantasy.
Nick, I'm going to hand this over to Teddy in 1 sec. I just want to make a quick shout out to Chris Hames. Chris, you donated $2 to the show. That's $5 in donations in the last week. All of that money will go to an animal shelter in Las Vegas. So thank you very much for that. Also, I did figure out what is worse than watching golf, Ironman, bicycle race, or a marathon. And I want to shout out. I don't know. I know this is a betting show, but this past weekend, the first Down syndrome triathlete crossed the finish line, and I want to give him a shout out because I'll tell you, I watched and I actually got choked up. Teddy, what do you got?
So my brother runs Ironmans, he's a triathlete. And when you have a friend or family member in them, they're still boring to watch. If you're sitting there for 16 hours, I can't imagine. When it comes to golf, look, and of course, we're talking to Nick Borrman making his WagerTalk Today debut, Masters preview. And Nick, one thing I learned very quickly when I moved to Las Vegas is I understand how to bet football. I understand how to bet basketball. I understand how to bet baseball. I don't know squat about golf. I better listen to other people. When it comes to golf, besides betting to win, what other strategies are there that are profitable, and are any of those strategies good for this week when it comes to the Masters?
Good question. The other option that I like to look at is, listen, picking an outright winner is difficult. It's one guy out of a field of 140 a lot of weeks, so it's difficult to pinpoint that one. But leaderboard bets is a more, I don't want to say easier, but a better way to find value on guys that you think will have a good event. Because, one stroke, one random shot can make all the difference for a win. But, if the guy's playing well like you think they're going to, there's a good chance they could still finish top 10 or top 20 like you thought they would begin with. So the leaderboard market, is a great way to tackle any golf tournament. And I like to kind of look at it twofold. If you like one of the favorites, again, we could talk about DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, again, at 8-1, 9-1, that's not really a great payout in an outright market. So, and generally when you're doing it right, you're keeping the bets low, right? You're looking for a low bet for a high payout. Here, you could start to get guys closer to even money. So, for example, Dustin Johnson, we expect him to have a good week this week. He is obviously the tournament favorite. Top 10 right now is plus 110 odds. And I think he's worth a look at. He's the number 1 player in the world. He's been on an absolute tear. His last 6 starts, he's got 2 wins, 3 runner-ups, and his worst finish was a tie for 6. So they're all top 10s. Only 8 golfers during that stretch have beaten him. That's incredible to think about. After taking the lead last Sunday at the Houston, I think he lost on purpose. There's an old wives' tale. Well, it's actually not a wives' tale. It's true that nobody that's won the Masters won the week prior. So I think he was thinking about that. I think he would have won last week, but he's like, you know what? I can't win this week because I won't win next week.
Yeah, right.
But that's a good way to tackle the leaderboard market. The other way is to find guys that you go to the deep value. You think, somebody that probably is not going to win this tournament, but could have a very good week. Somebody way lower on the odds board. I'm looking at Ian Poulter He kind of fits that bill for me this week. He's plus 300, so 3-1 on your money for a top 20 finish. He's been playing very well of late. His last 3 starts were a tied for 6th, a 5th, and a tied for 12th in his last start at the CJ Cup. But really what does it for me this week is his record at the Masters. Augusta is probably the number 1 course on tour where course history matters, and Poulter has been awesome here. He's 13 of 14 in cuts made, and he has 7 top 20 finishes, including tied for 12th last year. So plus 300 seems like a pretty good price to get a guy that's been kind of hitting 50% on this market throughout his career. So Poulter's a guy I'm tackling, top 20 market. And again, leaderboard bets in general, those are the 2 strategies I like to use. A favorite for around even money, and then a guy that's going to probably not win, but could make a decent run into a top 20 type of a situation.
We've got a few minutes left here with Nick Borrman breaking down the Masters at Augusta this weekend. And Nick, one thing that I've seen, again, I'm not claiming to be a golf expert by any stretch of the imagination, but a lot of the guys that I've met here in Vegas over the last 23 years that beat golf do it via matchups, mano a mano. I know you got some matchup plays that you like this week. Who's going to beat who in the Masters this week?
Yeah, mano a mano is exactly right. These matchup plays are where it's at. It's more of what, most of us are used to as far as any other sport, right? You got one team versus another team. In this case, one player versus another player. There's a winner, there's a loser. So you're getting more regular odds on these type of bets. And it's just, it doesn't matter how well that person plays as long as you beat the other guy, right? You could both miss the cut, but one guy could maybe have a slightly better score and you still win the bet. So it's a totally different animal. This week, I've zeroed in on Sebastian Munoz over Billy Horschel. This is a play I actually made a few weeks ago at the Zozo Championship where Munoz ended up finishing tied for 14th, and Horschel would have missed the cut had there been one. He finished 69 out of 77 players in a limited field. The long Munoz is just in a better form right now. He's made 9 straight cuts with 6 top 25 finishes, including his last 2 starts, which was a tie for 14th I mentioned at Zozo and 9th at the CJ Cup. His stat lines from last year aren't necessarily anything exciting to get too excited that I'm looking at, but if he really kind of wasn't doing much at the beginning of the year, and then it came on strong in the second half of the year. So the averages over the year aren't really that spectacular, but he still finished 34th tee to green and 33rd in total shots gained, which is nothing to write home about on tour. Horschel, he finished second at the Wyndham back in August, but he hasn't cracked the top 25 in 6 starts since then, including finishing, like I mentioned, 69th out of 77th at the Zozo in his last start. The only negative on Munoz for me is he's never played Augusta before, but Horschel really does not have a good course history here anyway, so I'm not worried too much about that. I'm just going off who's got the hotter hand, and a lot of times golf is that simple. Who's playing well usually continues that trend, and it takes quite a time to see a guy overcome a cold spell, which Horschel is in right now. So Munoz over Horschel, Teddy, is my matchup play I'm giving out this week.
Nicholas Borrman. Guys, I don't know if you know this, but Nick is a scratch golfer. Tried to make it, failed.
True story.
That's okay. We got you now. Dude, there's probably very few things harder than that. Nick, real quick, Tiger, just no value.
Listen, the golfer in me, the Tiger lover in me wants to see him do well, but he's 45-1 right now. 40-1 some other places. There's not a lot of value to me in the betting market on him. Could he win? It's Tiger Woods. It's hard to ever count him out. But at least, you know what? Last year, when he did win, he kind of had some precursors going into it. He won the Tour Championship in September and then won the Zozo Championship in October, November. I forget which month it was, before the Masters in April. But we're going into the Masters in November. He hasn't won since the Zozo last year. So now you're talking over a year, and he really hasn't shown any signs recently. So I can't bet him this week. I don't recommend betting him this week. I'm going to cheer for him just because I love him, but I don't think he's a bettable guy this week.
Somebody's asking about buying a month. Our amazing friend from Hawaii, a month is all access. It includes all sports. Thank you for the question. Nick, one of our listeners wants to know about props. We can't talk about it now, but you've got a golf show coming up today with the legendary Dave Koken and the incredible Andy Lang. So hopefully you guys will talk a little bit of props on on Tea Time. What time does it start?
4 p.m. Eastern today.
There you go, boys. 4 p.m. Eastern. Nick, Dave, and Andy, 3 sets of grandparents who really couldn't come up with an original name between them. I'm the Prez. $2 Tuesdays, everyone. Nick Borrman, Andy Lang, get them. We're going to take a quick break. Right back with Dave Sharapan.
First-time customers at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com receive $25 in wager bucks after your first initial purchase. All you have to do is sign up, make your purchase, and you'll get $25 in credit.
Teddy Covers, we're back. And listen, let's bring the show down a sec. Just reading in the chat room. This one is not a laughing matter. Reading in the chat room, one of our listeners, watchers, viewers, participants, just really a person who's I consider a part of the Wager Talk family. Their wife just got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I just want to give a shout out. We're praying for you, man. It's terrible, terrible news. My heart goes out to you and your family. Best wishes, and fight the fight. It's been one before, so let's hope it's one in your house. Okay,
I'm agreeing. Yes, very much so.
No. I wanted the nod. I wanted the nod to stand alone. You know, normally the nod goes like this. That one went like this. So I was happy with that. Welcome, everybody, to the best sports gambling show on the planet, Wager Talk Today. Paco, nice to see you, bro. Mr. Trance. You're getting a shout out today. Scott Kraken, Guitar Rat. Nice to see all of you guys. Adam, Big Daddy, and on. Moses, Johnny Detroit. Johnny makes this. This is appointment viewing for Johnny. I think he gets on his Peloton and watches us every single day. So shout out to the hardest working freaking man I ever met in my life.
Yeah, and so it's good to see them. It's good to see people in the chat. It's good to see the interaction in the chat. And I know for guys like Johnny, this show, we've been around only since the beginning of September, right? You know, it's becoming part of people's daily routine. And we appreciate that. And all we ask, look, the show is always going to be free. All right? It is. The only thing we ask, if you like the show, tell a friend. Tell 2 friends. Tell 5 friends. The goal here is not 300 views, 500 views. The goal here is, 5,000 people watching live, 10,000, 20,000, who knows what we can get. This is, in both of our genuine opinions, the best show out there. So if you like it, please help us help you. Just tell your friends. That's all we ask. And thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for stopping by. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day. And thank you so much for contributing in the chat. It's awesome. We appreciate it, genuinely.
And I said this last week, when we do get to 10,000 live listeners, don't you worry, guys. This show is built on your back, and Teddy and I will not forget it. Sippy Sports Show, a first-time listener. Thanks for being here, brother. Teddy, so I made an announcement at the beginning of the show where I told everybody that my 5% NFL plays are gold and everything else is a bit of a disaster. Please do not buy my NFL All Access package for a couple of weeks. One of our listeners wrote, now it's time to get your picks. The bounce back is where we make the money. Yeah, I went for a double reverse, Teddy. I admit it. I mean, it hasn't been done since 72 against the Russians, but I pulled it out. I pulled a double reverse out.
So there's some audio issues I can hear, but one of the things, Koken was tweeting this weekend, and he was reverse jinxing himself. And it worked twice. It worked on Saturday. It worked again on Sunday. So I'm like, I'm going to try that. And I'm like, the Arizona, I had a big play on Miami. I'm like, the Cardinals offense was making me crazy. Kyler Murray was insane. I'm like, this offense is great. I can't stop. The Miami's defense is no joke, and they still can't stop it. And of course, my tweet reverse jinx worked as well. So maybe the reverse jinxes are out there and floating in the air. Of course, none of that stuff has anything to do with what goes on in the field, but it's certainly fun to talk about afterwards.
Teddy covers. People are asking, are we talking college football? Absolutely we are. We're going to bring Dave Sharapan in now. We're going to talk football. And then Teddy is going to do a little MACtion later on in the show. Oh, I can't wait to see what Dave is wearing this week. Oh, same boring old Steelers hat. Looking like a retired, happy, well-fed Big Ben. How are you, Dave?
Hey, man, I'm good, guys. I don't know about reverse jinxes, but I don't know. I mean, everyone has a streak buster or slump buster, and I guess you pulled yours out, Prez, with that shirt. I'm just trying to figure out where you got that thing, but whatever we need.
What's wrong with the shirt?
It's just
that's what you're
bright.
grabbing?
I don't know.
That's your, like, take a shot at Prez, insulting a burnt orange shirt? Teddy knows. I have 7 of these. And if you go back through the archive.
Is that a salmon shirt?
Yeah, salmon, peachy, apricot. You know, Dave, in all seriousness, Teddy and I have talked a lot of shit on the show already. We don't need your help. Let's get to some sports.
No. I got shit. I got to talk with him right off the bat because he was tweeting out a picture yesterday of him and Doug Kazarian. Of course, Doug, before he was on ESPN, he was a local news anchor here in Las Vegas. So he's someone that we all know and like and love. And he's back here in Vegas. I saw a picture of you and Doug in tuxedos in front of the Circa saying, "Caption this." And I sat there for an hour and nothing that I could, not really an hour, but I was sitting there, how do I caption this? And nothing I couldn't say anything that I could actually tweet or say on air. There was lots of stuff that I was thinking, but nothing that could go on the public air. What won that contest with you and the tuxes last night of the caption this photo?
There were a lot of people that were stumped. I expected a little better effort from Gambling Twitter. I put it out there to have shots fired and everybody come. You have my number, Teddy. You could text me anything you want. I want your best shot. I put it there for you to take. And all of a sudden, everybody, came up empty. I don't got any bullets. Oh, I don't know what to say.
Dave,
please come at me. What, Prez? Anything you got, please? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Joe, bring the shot to me, please.
Oh, there it is.
Oh my God! Now, can we please speak sports?
Yes.
So let's talk about what happened this last weekend. It felt like it was a very good week for the house in terms of both NFL and college. Maybe the best week of the year for the house in the NFL. Big decisions on Saturday, big decisions on Sunday. Overall result, what do we got?
Well, for those of you who missed it, Prez flexed, and that's what the books did this week. The books got everything. A Sunday was ridiculous. The dogs win the game outright, but 2 of the biggest favorites don't cover. Win the game, but don't cover in the Chiefs and the Steelers. So, with those 2 games alone, all the teaser liability gone. The dogs win the games outright otherwise. I think it was 7-5 or something like that. Yep. So the totals actually went over. So we've gotten down with the numbers, and they've been coming down. They went over, but I don't think many people got it right this week. College, you guys tell me. I mean, a couple weeks ago, Michigan lost to Michigan State as a 24-point favorite. My alma mater, Penn State, was a ridiculous, and I said it before, told everyone, 25-point favorite against Maryland and lost outright at home. One of the worst losses in the history of Penn State point spread wise. It's getting really tough. And, Notre Dame gets there against Clemson. Favorites aren't always getting there, and more so now than ever. So if I had my Kleenex box this week, it would be for the bettors. A lot of crying going on, and hopefully, they can get some back with some Masters bets maybe. I mean, there's the Masters in November for the first time ever. maybe they'll steer away from college football. But, you guys were talking MACtion is Tuesday and Wednesday this week. Bettors are going to be spread pretty thin in football. 20 straight days of football coming up. Better get your ducks in order.
Let's talk the Masters for a minute. Have you seen anything coming in early? And I know people are asking college football, but we talked Masters already. So I figure while we have veteran oddsmaker Dave Sharapan on, let's ask him where the action's coming in terms of Masters future bets, any golfers that are attracting a lot of attention, any golfers that nobody wants, and of course, the Tiger Woods factor. What do you got for us for the Masters?
Tiger's 40-1 to win the Masters approximately. That's he's not winning the Masters again. But I said that last year and he won. So
yeah, I know, exactly. We all did.
Exactly. So I don't know. I got to check the weather if it's going to be that much colder. I mean, some people say it's going to be colder, so the ball's going to run for miles. Other people say it's going to be colder and it's going to be wet and it's going to play longer. So I think the weather is more of a factor now than it ever has been, being in November. I know in Vegas, I woke up 2 days ago. We went from 86 to 36 in a day. I'm still cold, and I don't know about you guys arguing in the house with the wife, but still trying to figure out a comfortable temperature to keep it at in the winter. Sorry, little diatribe there. DeChambeau's obviously getting all the action, favorite-wise, golf-wise. I don't know. It's a little early to maybe award him the Masters. Yes, he took golf by storm during the pandemic, during the summer. A little bit early. Tony Finau's coming up again. Really? Tony Finau? Constantly being bet by sharps and by wise guys, by everybody. That's another one. And Patrick Reed. Patrick Reed is actually a pretty one of those sharp plays. And that's all I got. Bubba Watson is the other one.
Oh, thank God you're done with that. Jesus, man. Like, I've read this freaking article 7 bloody times. 1960 Playboy. There you go, Dave. You can
we'll
take
talk
a
football.
picture.
Let's talk football.
Yeah.
I get the point, Prez.
3 college football games tonight. Let's go. The first all line moves, man. Ohio now minus 27.5. The total's been bet up. Bowling Green, Kent State, 17.5 to 20.5. The line has been bet down on the total. Tell us where the money is going, and maybe even, I know this is going to blow your mind, a pick for our listeners.
On MACtion? Boy, I got guys I rely on for MACtion. I rely on you. I say, call
Not
you guys
me.
and get the MACtion pick. I don't know. I would bet overs. Tackling seems optional in the MAC. It has been for years. They social distance now when they play defense. So the steam came on the favorites. The steam came on the favorites last week on the MACtion. Obviously, Akron is offensively challenged, and apparently they didn't have much practice time. They kind of threw this thing together almost like an intramural thing, and they provide zero resistance for their opponents. So I don't know how much higher the line can go with Ohio. I guess it's going to get to 28 at some point here. So 27.5 seems okay. The Kent State Bowling Green game, and the other game is, let's see here, Miami, Ohio, Buffalo. Oh, that at least hopefully will be the most competitive game of the night. But I don't know, man. It's just fun having football on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So despite the fact that I wasn't going to watch Patriots-Jets yesterday, Monday Night Football, because it was the Jets, turned into a good game, was starting to get alerts that the Jets were actually leading at halftime. So I just want to see competitive football. I'm not so much looking for winners and losers tonight and tomorrow.
So when it comes to competitive football, let's talk about some of the big matchups for the weekend in college football. Where's the early money coming in these marquee matchups? There's all kinds of games that people are talking about. I'm not going to throw them at you. I'm going to let you throw them at us. Where we've seen the big sharp action early in the week.
I haven't really seen much of anything, Teddy, to be honest. I think so far the Penn State-Nebraska game is one that I have my eye on, only because I expect the Sharps to come on Nebraska, just from what I'm hearing. I feel like that's going to be a game where they're going to take the dog there. And then as far as the other games, it's crazy, but you don't see anything really happening during the week as much anymore. Again, we talked about this, in a couple Tuesdays ago. The college action has been very limited as far as showing their hand early. They're not even setting games up where they used to, inch a game along, and then come back later on the other side. There's been minimal movement. This COVID has everybody on pause. It has everybody, taking. You saw it in the NFL. The Steeler game opened high, pound Cincy, and now today, a bunch of Steelers tested positive or are going to be around contact tracing something. They can't come to the building for days. Roethlisberger's not allowed back in the facility all week. So the line is off the board in most places. That's happening in college even more. And games in college are getting canceled. The NFL is doing everything they can to not cancel games, obviously. But, the Auburn game's already canceled this week. So I don't know. There's a lot of things happening. I haven't seen really any big plays, big money moves yet in college football.
Dave, we got to get to NFL. I just first want to point out your terrible towel. It's exquisitely hung up. So much care and time sticking it in your cupboard. Anyway, can you give us something in the NFL, brother, please? Line moves, wise guys, syndicate plays. What are you seeing out there for Week 10 in the NFL?
Thanks, Prez. I took about 30 seconds before we actually came on when the idea hit me to throw the towel up. So
you mean it doesn't sit there permanently?
Oh no, it's coming down right after. The Steelers are probably going down this week. Really, that's they're already playing the Bengals. So that's one of the games that whether it's because of COVID, whether it's because it's overvalued. You guys watched the game Sunday against the Cowboys. You saw what it's happening. It's coming back. They're not going undefeated. This could be the week they get caught. The Colts and Titans on Thursday, boys. This one feels like they're playing the Colts early here, and then I think they're going to come back with the Titans game day. But the Colts seems to be the play right now. The money's starting to come in there. The other one was the Ravens. The Patriots did themselves. They got the win yesterday against the Jets, but that look-ahead line was a little bit lower, and they played the Ravens right away, as that game was even being played last night. So that was another one where they came Baltimore, and that is about it as far as movement in the NFL. The Chargers and the Dolphins is another one to keep an eye on. The NFL put 5 games late on Master Sunday in November. Like, we could have worked something out where usually the Pacific time zone gets 1 or 2 games, maybe 3 in the afternoon on Sunday, and we want more. Well, now we got more, and they did it on the weekend that the Masters are. So despite you reading the Playboy, Prez, there's going to be some of us watching Masters golf final round coverage on Sunday, hopefully, if it's competitive.
We've got just a moment left here with Dave Sharapan at SportsbookConsig on Twitter. That's at SportsBKCONSIG on Twitter. I wanted to ask you specifically, Dave, about that Colts-Titans game, because you said something that stood out to me. You said the early move has been towards Indy, but you think Tennessee's money is going to show. And I got a different impression. I didn't get the impression that anyone's betting Tennessee this week. So I want to know what you saw and why you think that and how confident you are in that prediction that we will get two-way action on this game before kickoff, as opposed to the early money that has showed for Indy.
It's just been a trend on the Thursday night game where, not really, though, because the Thursday night games either go one way where they steam and then it just continues to get out of hand, where it, like last week, Packers, Niners. This one here, just a couple people that I talked to, they sounded like they like Tennessee, but they're going to wait. So it's just, one of those things that it may or may not happen, but like you saw it kind of happen with the Ravens. They took the Colts last week. The bugaboo with the Colts is, can they beat good teams? I don't know. So are the Titans a good team? I don't know. So right now, Tuesday, I think the line's going to, trickle down 1.5, somewhere around there, and then sit. And then when it gets to the 1.5 mark, you got guys looking to just take the other side, because anything that gets to 1 or 1.5, they just bet the other way when they've already taken 2.5.
Dave Sharapan joining us. And Dave, one of our listeners asks, and no need for a response, should we really listen to a grown man with his hat backwards? Anything to promote?
This Twitter handle at SportsBKConsig. We do a podcast every week where I still wear the hat backwards or forwards or different hats. I wore the hat last week. Everybody called me Collagito all week. You saw the picture that Prez held up. That's what it looked like. At GT's Cash Considerations, you can hear me there with a couple oddsmakers. Hopefully I'm going to have you guys lined up. If you're available on Thursdays, we record. I'm going to try to get you guys on the podcast. Not together. We already get enough of that now. So what's one-on-one time with each one of you? I'm going to try to line it up in the next month. But other than that, no. Listen to the show, follow the Twitter feed, and I get Ralph's sheets now. So now I got Ralph's sheets, I get Ralph's information, and Ralph's coming up after me. Listen to the show.
Thanks, Dave Sharp. And guys, let's take a real quick break. Teddy's MACtion coming up, and Ralph Michaels with some trends and angles and play from Friends of Ralph.
No baseball, basketball, or hockey to get you through until the football weekend? Don't worry, we have you covered over at WagerTalk and SportsMo with our soccer handicappers. Get the rest of 2020 from your favorite soccer expert with an all-access soccer package for just $249. This is normally priced at $399, but right now it's discounted $150 off, and it includes any 5% plays normally priced at $40. Just head over to WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com to take advantage of this deal to lock in one of your soccer experts through the end of the year.
It's time for Big Game Breakdown here on WagerTalk Today. We're going to talk a little Tuesday night MACtion when we got college football on a Tuesday on national TV. You're darn right we're going to talk about it. I chose the Kent State versus Bowling Green game to break down for this evening. Well, we talked Miami of Buffalo yesterday and I had absolutely no opinion on the other game. So this is the one I picked, 62-20 last year. A pretty one-sided affair. Kent blowing out BG. And look, this is a Golden Flashes program. 3-9, 3-9, 2-10, and then all of a sudden last year 7-6. They beat Eastern Michigan, who's been a feisty underdog in week 1. They're 7-1 against the spread. Went 7-1 against the spread in MAC play last year and pushed in the opener this year. So it's certainly a Kent team that has been significantly undervalued. Look, they've got an elite quarterback, Dustin Crum. Some people in the first team All-MAC. The senior looked good last week, 21-29, 219, and 2 touchdowns against Eastern, although he did throw an interception in the red zone. He also had 35 rushing yards and a score on 8 carries in that ball game. Head coach Sean Lewis, quote, "We found a way to win, and that's the important thing, but there is a bunch to clean up. Obviously, look to the penalties, the turnovers, the missed opportunities in the red zone, the inability to convert on third down. We got some key stops, some key moments, and obviously some big scores, and found a way to win. But this isn't about finding a way to win. This is about finding a way to win by margin. I like a coach coming off a win that says we didn't play well. We found a way. That's good. But I like a team that's generally undervalued in the market, 7-1 against the spread. Again, in MAC play last year. Bowling Green gave up 524 yards to Toledo last week, 310 yards on the ground, another 200 yards in the air. They gave up 23 plays that gained 10 or more yards. There's a lot of hype about Scott Loeffler when he got there at BG. His quote, "We played atrocious football in the first half." And they did. They beat a new quarterback in Matt McDonald. BC transfer comes in with a pedigree, but 8 for 30 against Toledo, 128 yards, 2 INTs. BG was able to run the football a little bit in that ball game. But other than that, they did nothing right. They did nothing right last year. It's very difficult in college football to make money on very bad teams, especially very bad teams with no home field advantage like Bowling Green. If I'm playing, I'm laying Kent State or pass for this better. Back to you, Prez.
Theodore, that was phenomenal work. And I love the I'm playing, I'm laying thing. That's your calling card. Good stuff. Yeah, you're about to say something.
I was just going to say, we both know that during that entire time, all you heard was the last thing I said because you were in the chat.
What game were you even talking about?
Were you looking at and the viewer? You keep going with this listeners thing. They're actually watching us. That's what the cameras are. So I know you're interacting in the chat all the time, and that's awesome. I appreciate you doing that because that allows me to focus on what's going on.
I'm going to tell you what I was doing. I'm going to tell you what I was doing.
Please don't. Playboy.
No. Kevin Dolan is on a 12-1 boxing run. 12-1 boxing run. He's got a 5%. He's got a 5% play this weekend. So I was literally texting Johnny saying we should do a massive promo for this boxing play that Kevin has coming up. And yeah, I don't even know what game you spoke about. But listen, it happens. Can we please bring Ralph Michaels in?
Yes. Oh, there
Ralph,
he is.
I can't wait to see a checkered pen. Oh, what?
I am, you know what? I'm sending out an email. You guys caught me off guard. Sorry. So, hey, it's productivity. You can't stop just because you're on. But you know what? I still freaking listen to Theodore, and I still listen to Kent State. And if I'm laying, I'm playing. And I'll tell you what, guys, I'm going to change up the order and not let you talk, Prez, because I am going to go into the Friends of Play, Ralph, because I am on the same game with a little different take, Teddy. So people have your play in the thought process. Let's just continue that thought process. So the Friends of Ralph play today is my friend Ralph. And he's giving out an actual play that he has at WagerTalk tonight. So do not buy my Mac play tonight. Now, here's my concern. Teddy talked about Kent State's record throughout the previous few years. Teddy talked about how finally last year they learned to win, and they did learn to cover. This team is still only 6-32 on the road. This team is laying the second highest point total on the road as they have in the last 32 years. That does concern me a bit. What I'm doing is, Teddy, I'm going to go in the first half. Kent State is minus either 10.5 or 11. We know Sean Lewis's fast-paced attack is going to run off 40-plus plays in the first half. I think that's going to catch Bowling Green off guard. Bowling Green, like you talked about, a team with 64 freshmen on their roster. The youngest team there is in college football. You also mentioned, I think last week here on the show, or maybe it was on the Best Damn College Football show with Rob and Drew, he talked about wanting to do it the right way, not bringing JUCOs, not bringing people with questionable character, bringing all those freshmen. So you have a team that knows they're going to be bad. They have 64 freshmen, and he knows it's a work in progress. So my mantra is a bad team turning into a good team has to learn how to win on the road before they learn how to cover on the road. So with a team that's 6-32, has only been an away favorite 4 times in the last 6 years, I still like Kent State. I think they're still the right play, but I think they jump out early. I'm going to lay the 10.5 or 11 with Kent State in the first half. And then if they try to slow down the offense and they get out of sync from their high-paced offense, I could see maybe Bowling Green making a late touchdown or two, Kent State not really knowing how to run up the score, not knowing if they want to run up the score. So while we're on the both sides, Teddy, I am going to be on the first half in that Kent State Bowling Green game.
Now, that's an interesting question, Ralph. It's an interesting discussion because you're saying this team hasn't found a way to win on the road, or haven't won many road games, certainly haven't won by this margin, but you trust them early. And my whole thought process when you're saying that is, geez, this team hasn't been winning on the road. It may take them a little while to get into some rhythm. I'd rather have them full game than first half because of that. So same info, different handicaps. And in my mind, that's interesting because,
That's why this is awesome. That's why the exact banter is, you know what? we sit at a table, we can have the same info and we can have 3 different opinions on it. And so, it's for people to learn. And then the most important thing is neither of us is right 100% of the time. Look at how the game plays out. Remember what positives you could take out of what Teddy said. If there's any positives you could take out of what I said, and remember those things moving forward.
Sure, because one thing that bettors need to remember for sure is that if we all had the same opinion on every game, there'd be no betting. There'd be no betting markets.
Absolutely.
It requires opinions on both sides. It requires, when the Packers get bet up to 8.5, that someone's going to come in and say there's value on San Fran at that number. That's what the betting market it takes, because it's a market. So the fact that we have different opinions, a commonality and a necessity for what we do. Sorry, Lawrence, I was cutting you off.
No, I was just saying deep thoughts from Teddy Covers. Ralph, your energy today is sky high, baby. I'm loving it. What else you got for us?
Well, we all know Teddy's the same way. It's much more fun and exciting to argue. When you have a strong point, arguing that point gets people excited. If Teddy and I agreed, yeah, I agree, Teddy, yeah, I agree, Teddy, what fun is that? So arguing makes handicapping. I was just going, yep,
Ralph,
go ahead, Prez.
I got breaking news. Breaking news. You want to know how fast we work? KD30. Kevin Dolan's boxing play. 5 minutes after I texted our boy Johnny, we got a promo code, KD30, $30 off. I'm hoping. He didn't tell me that part. $30 off of Kevin Dolan's boxing play. KD30. The dude is on a something and something run. 12-1 boxing run. Ralph, I'll shut up now. Breaking news over.
I'm just going to add to that. I looked at the sales, and Kevin had an incredible number of sales at the full $40 price. So if you already paid $40, just email customer service. They'll give you a credit for it. Let them know you heard the special, and then they'll go ahead and give you a credit for what you spent. Because like I said, I know his sales were incredible on that 5% play already. So don't think if you already bought it, you know what? Wagers Talk is going to take care of you. Customer service at WagerTalk.com. Back to the basic, guys. How do NFL teams do off a loss? How do NFL teams do off a loss as a favorite? How do NFL teams do off a win as a dog? So all I'm going to do here is give you some numbers. So I want you to have in your thought, how do NFL teams do off a loss as a home favorite, good or bad? 51.2%. Basically, the Mendoza line. I bet most of you think, though, if you're off a loss as a home favorite and you're at home again, that's a positive. Guess what? Look at the record. That is based into the line. If you are off a loss as a home favorite and you're at home again the next week, you are only 42.2% since 2015, the last 5 years. But if you're on the road off a loss as a home favorite, you have covered 54.1%. So hopefully you've had that thought in your handicapping and you've had it right. If not, don't be afraid to ask the questions. How about off a loss as a home favorite of 7 or more? You see there's only been 50 occurrences. So these percentages are much less meaningful. Yes, it's 59% on the road. Yes, it's 37.5% at home. But the amount of number of plays compared to the 250 off a regular home loss mean much less to me. How about if you're off a win as a home dog? Is that a positive or a negative? That's been a positive. If you're off the win as a home dog, you have blindly hit 56% of your plays the next game. Better at home or better away off a win as a home dog? You'll see clearly teams have performed better on the road off a win as a home dog, hitting 57.9%. And the last category I put in, but again, take it with a grain of salt, guys. There's only been 13 times teams have won as a home dog of 7 or more the last 5 years. So, only a couple win a year. And you'll see the numbers there, 50% and 33%. So just to look back to the basics, guys, that I want people to have that thought. I think if you were in a bar and you asked most people, they would say, oh, a team off a loss as a home favorite that's back home again was embarrassed and they're a play on team when we've seen just the opposite.
Ralph Michaels with us. Teddy Covers on the Prez. Wager Talk Today, guys. Best daily sports gambling show on the planet. Shout out to Nick Borrman for coming on and talking golf. Dave Sharapan for coming on and talking a little bit of sports. And of course, Teddy Covers. Tomorrow's show, noon Eastern. Teddy, take us home.
You don't want to thank Ralph? Ralph's the one that comes every day and hangs out with us. Thank you, Ralph Michaels at CalSportsLV on Twitter for joining us. And thank you out there in Viewerland. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to spend with Prez and I here on Wager Talk Today. We'll be back again tomorrow. More big game breakdowns, more quality analysis, and more fun with Prez wavering everyone. Wager Talk Today every day, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. on the left coast. Enjoy the games, and good luck tonight.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.